ETSI is one of the 3 European standardization organizations, so we're officially recognized by the European Commission as one of the organizations that can provide European standards. Our speciality is in ICT and digital standards. And while we are a European organization, and very much so, many of our standards are developed with a global outlook simply because ICT markets are global. So in fact, many of our standards have global reach and have take-up outside of Europe. As a European standardization organization, we also have the concept of direct participation of industry in our standardization activities, and also all of our standards are available free of charge on our website. In InDiCo-Global, ETSI is the lead coordinator of the project across all of the project partners, but we operate in the project very much collaboratively alongside the other partners, so we really don't try to have any kind of dominant partner or whatever. All of the decisions are made by consensus. Well, I think you've said it, today's digital world, and therefore basically ICT standardization in fact defines our digital world. If you look at or examine any digital technology or ICT technology, you'll find it's built upon layers of standards and specifications. These can be international standards, they can be European standards, or they can be even standards or specifications more likely coming from fora and consortia. You also have things like standardized APIs coming out of operating systems and so on. So we actually have in the ICT world the concept of networked innovation, where each organization, each innovation is built upon layers, in fact decades of innovation coming from behind. That system only really works with standardization. So the standardization in fact defines and details the innovations that have been developed in the past. Another very important aspect of the ICT industry is interoperability. None of this stuff works if it doesn't work together, and standards are key for interoperability. The ICT industry is basically a global industry. There is no such thing as a national ICT market. And so in order to develop and promote standards globally, you have to bring many players around the table. So trying to gain consensus, which is an essential part of standardization, not having any one party dominate, is actually quite difficult the more players you have in the room. But it's not just a technical challenge. If it were, maybe that might make it easy. Promoting in particular European ICT standards is also an important part of that is promoting European policies, European regulatory policies in particular, around digital and ICT, and in fact promoting European values and our way of working. And that these are embodied in European standards, and so promoting European standards at an international level is really promoting European values. Well, as I've said, the ICT market basically is defined by standardization. And in trying to develop new technologies and promote them in the marketplace, basically, again, if we're talking about trying to promote them globally, it means bringing many people around the table globally for those standards. But because of this concept of networked innovation, new technologies don't exist on their own. They in fact build upon and have to work with other technologies that are already there. And so again, interoperability becomes key. Bringing out new technologies is not a standalone operation. They have to interoperate with what's there. So we need open, clearly defined interfaces which are developed in standards and specifications. Also, if we look at the ICT market, we have very much a globalized development of products, and for example, we have chipsets built in one country, put into modules in another country, put into devices in a third country. So it's very much a globalized market. Even if globalization has some headwinds at the moment, this remains still the case. This can't happen without, this trade in modules and commodities cannot happen without clear, recognized standards, international standards adopted globally. InDiCo-Global is effectively an essential toolbox or an important toolbox of the European Commission and of the European Union. Inside the project, we have the 3 European standardization organizations, and we have a number of other smaller organizations who are helping the 3 ESOs in this task. So yes, it's very useful for the European standards organizations, basically to build bridges to help its outreach towards the targeted regions in the world, basically Latin America, Caribbean, Southeast Asia, African Union, and Western Balkans, and so on. So for the ESOs, for the European standardization organizations, the InDiCo-Global project is very helpful in achieving basically greater contacts, outreach towards stakeholders in each different region that we're targeting. But for Europe, the European Union in particular, it's also very relevant because, as I've said, in promoting European standardization and European standardization techniques globally, we are also promoting European policies, European regulation, basically ensuring people understand European regulatory policies in particular, but also we're promoting European values. And in this respect, InDiCo-Global is also important for the European Commission, who of course funds this project. Now, in terms of getting stakeholders involved, of course, it's very important for us to build proper links with stakeholders, in particular in the target regions and countries. Inside Europe, most of the interested stakeholders are already involved, either directly in the project or through the members of ETSI, of SEN and of SENELEC. But one of the key objectives of the project is really to build proper relationships and better relationships with multiple stakeholders in the targeted regions, be they stakeholders at regulatory level, at policy level, or also at research and technical level inside local industries involved in standardization.